just want to say quickly too is like, people, just so you understand my position on this whole Olympic ceremony thing. I know that the Olympics have a lot to do with, literally it stems from Greek, right? Mount Olympus and all this other shit. But I don't like that in 2024 we are doing ceremonies to Zeus, which back in April they did an entire ceremony to Zeus, which I just thought was a little bit crazy, getting ready for the Olympic ceremonies in Paris. And then we have Dionysus, the god of wine and theater and things of that nature, who's hanging out. Blue skin, fascinatingly enough, just like the Hindu gods, who it's my contention they were fallen angels and the Nephilim as well. So when people go like, oh, this is just tradition, I go, well, no, because you're paying homage to what I consider to be the fallen. I believe they're real. See, that's where people get mixed up with me, especially. They're like, oh, you don't believe in other religions, but you believe in your religion. I'm like, no, I believe in yours too. I just happen to think that they're fallen angels. And that here we are paying homage to them on one of the biggest world stages ever, especially in this past Paris one. So, I mean, I just wanted to clear that because people say that a lot to me. They're like, oh, you believe in Christianity, but you don't think there's any validity. Like, no, I think there's a lot of validity. I think you guys are just being deceived by fallen angels and their offspring. But, go off.
you know what, man? I had a conversation with my friend, and I go, all these little G gods are either Nephilims or fallen angels. She's like, I can't subscribe to that. And I'm like, I get it, man, but I'm just telling you, like, and the reason Jesus is different is because he was sent down to give everybody a code to rise and ascend out of this low vibrational shit. Now, let me just say one thing real quick.
Go ahead.
In Vedic astrology and in Hinduism, they talk about God trapping entities down here, and those extend way past the Abrahamic religions. They've been talking about that forever, man. It's like, so you can sit there and demonize Christianity all you want. Astrology talks about it, and Hinduism talks about it. And the reason that Christ is different because he is God visiting here to give us a cheat code to get out of this place. And this is why. And, again, there's a lot. I have guests on that will talk about they don't believe that Christ existed. They think it's manufactured from the Roman Catholic Church, from the Vatican. And I go, I just, for me, it's just there's too much information out there. And the people who are doing dark magic seem to hate this guy and seem to constantly try to destroy anything he's created, his image, his teachings.
It's fascinating how you could use his name to ward off alien encounters. You can ward off demonic spirits, sleep paralysis.
Sam, Genesis 3:15. Think about that. That's the scripture that describes the seed war. That you'll bruise his heel, but he'll crush your head. When God is talking to Satan about the daughters of man. And what's happening here is he's describing the small g gods creating the Nephilim, having sex with women, taking them as wives, creating them. They become like gods on earth, and they become kings on earth. And God kind of comes and he does the one perfect thing. He's like, I'm going to do exactly what you did, but I'm going to do it perfect. And then when you have so he creates Jesus. And this is an entity that is, the trifecta, or whatever we want to call it, the Trinity. But this is an entity that when you just say his name, if you're being abducted by aliens, which it's my contention that those are Nephilim or fallen angels or something to do with that. They're not from outer space. They're from right here. They're just whatever. You say his name and they have to flee. Same thing with demons. And it's like, it's incredible about like the power that's given in this name. And there's testimony after testimony of people that use it constantly in these encounters. So to say that, Jesus was fake or not real, I don't know. Can you deal with some of these contentions here?
And because I'm not going to get into it because it's a whole thing to unpack. I have nobody can ever tell me shit. I have had my own personal experiences where I've had to call out to Jesus to stop really fucking strange things in my own life. But I think
hold on, you were fucking weird shit and you wanted to stop?
Think weird shit was fucking me. No. But I think the other thing that's worth mentioning here is all these other pagan gods, they require sacrifice from you. This one sacrificed for us.
It's always the
that's
inverse.
a great point. That's a
Yeah,
really
it's
great point. Wow.
it's
I never
always a
thought about
reflection, right? So like everything that's created, these entities cannot create. They can only take and pervert and flip around. So everything that you see is always an inversion and a perversion of what God has done. And now we're getting like really religious or spiritual here, but this is just how it reads, man. This is what I'm studying. This is what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, man. This is like all this negative stuff that these people that push in Hollywood and Washington D.C. In these bankings, all this stuff. It's so dark. It's so evil. It's playing to pagan gods or playing to little g gods. That to me infers a god. That to me infers if we see one side pushing the darkness, that means there must be light. It's just the yin and yang of the universe. If you're constantly seeing Satan everywhere or what they want to push as Satan on you, that infers a god to me. There has to be a dark. If they worship the darkness, that means they're choosing not to worship the light or the high vibrational love of God. That's my belief.
Honestly, that's how I got here. I won't bore you with the details, but it's like especially, I think it's true for most conspiracy theorists. You start by noticing those things. When I was younger, I was like, why is there so much of this symbolism in the music industry if it's not real? Why is there so much in Hollywood if it's not real? And the more you get hit with all of these coincidences and they pile up, the more it starts to paint this picture where it's like, oh, wait, well, clearly somebody believes in these dark entities. And so if this side of the coin is real, then the other side must be real. And that was like the reasonable doubt that led me in this direction. And I've been doing this for, I guess 16, 18 years, man. And it took me a long time to come to this point where I realized like, oh, the biblical lens is the most accurate lens through which to see all of this fuckery.
It makes sense. Everything lines up. If you think it's about money and power, why do they want to kill off people? That's less power and less people to get money from. It makes no sense. The only way it makes sense is if you are trying to work for a dark entity that wants to destroy God's greatest creation.
That's really that's what it comes down to. It comes down to the initial jealousy of us being created and angels that were alongside God saying these things are kind of shit, and he's like, nah, I like these guys. Like, look at this guy. He has a spark of divinity in him, and they don't have that. And that's what creates the rebellion. That's what creates the fall. That's what creates all the way right up until now. It's just like this, and that's how gay, like whatever you want to call him, Satan, the devil, Zeus, whichever. Choose your fallen angel. That's how gay that they are, that you'd hold a grudge for all of eternity over what daddy chose. It's like, just get over yourself, dude. Get over yourself.
This is a really great thing. This guy's been kind of teeing off, but he brings up, I never understood how Christians would adhere to a book written and edited for control and power by a ruling class and goes balls deep into praising it. Like, how can you not see how you're being deceived by another control mechanism, which is what is the control mechanism? How are we being controlled? That's my question. Now listen real quick. There's editings for sure, but the editings get you to buy into a different narrative that to me isn't Christ, isn't that. So that I'll agree with you. We can get into, the Scofield Bible and all that. We can totally get into that. And then there's people who their whole job is to find the oldest Bibles and compare them to new Bibles. And then they point out all the things that have changed. And there are people who are working on that. And there's a lot of people out there trying to find really old Bibles and read those Bibles. So people are more aware of what this guy's saying than he gives credit to. And there's always going to be knucklehead sheep that are just going to follow whatever they're told because that's the easiest path. But there's a lot of people working their asses off to get the truth and to get closer to God. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people, I was lucky enough not to have this, or I suppose blessed not to have this. A lot of people have all of this baggage from, maybe their own personal experiences. When I was young, I went to Catholic school, or I was raised in a religious family, or, my favorite, comedian, or my favorite movie, or my favorite thing, that was really impactful when I was young was like shitting on the hypocrisy of Christianity, or I see the priests and the preachers that are touching kids and getting shifted around, and that fills me with resentment, yada 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 yada, all these different things. I didn't have like any of that. Nobody tried to make me religious when I was a kid. I didn't have any examples of it. Like, so when I decided to finally look at it, I just looked at it like, well, I don't know. I kind of see a lot of things pointing to this direction. Fuck it, I'll look at it. I didn't have any baggage, and I think like even the baggage is a lot of it is cultural. We often say like Christianity is the only thing that you can get on stage and dunk on freely to the sound of like a round of applause. And you really can't do that with other religions. And I think that in America, that's been allowed to happen for a really long time. And I think we've kind of been culturally engineered to almost laugh at it and think that people are stupid for even looking at it. And I just never really felt that way. So all I would say is like, if you're wondering how does a person go from being a conspiracy theorist, like, for my entire life, to all of a sudden finally settling in a place where I go, all right, the best lens to look at this is the Christian one, the biblical one. Just look at it without the baggage. Just, stop freaking out.
Well, the
about
baggage to me is man-made. It's not of God.
It's not.
It's the actions of men. And they want you to attribute that to God. And they go, well, why would God allow that to happen? Well, this is the story of this realm, and God putting these demons in charge of this realm. We live in an occult realm. Isaac Weishaupt said that, and it really clicked with me. We live in an occult realm. This is why people who play to the occult rules tend to thrive, because they're playing to the rules of the realm.